Hello again, everyone. Edwin Lerner back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the vertex in the 8th house in a natal chart. Now, first thing is, as far as this placement goes, well, you may be encouraged, cajoled, coaxed, persuaded, and even downright implored to focus on matters pertaining to taxes, insurance, making a major change or transformation in your life, things of a psychological nature. It could be matters pertaining to astrology, the supernatural, or the occult. It could be where you might be encouraged by others to pursue those subjects. You also may be asked by others to share resources as opposed to not sharing them, and also be willing to receive moral and emotional support from others, and even monetary support as well. You also may be coaxed and persuaded by others to take care of any outstanding debts you may have. And this, of course, can be fall in a wide divergence of things, of different debts. But I mean, one example, of course, could be credit card debt. And if you've procrastinated on this, well, this is where especially you might be coaxed by others to take care of these matters. Also, if applicable, you may be also encouraged to take responsibility for alimony payments if you have not done so, and if applicable as well. And also, you might be asked to deal with crisis and upheavals. You may also, if applicable, you may be asked to address issues pertaining to surgery. And if you procrastinated on that, well, that is something you may really be strongly encouraged to do. Now, also, if you have one, I mean, a sexual partner, someone you're in an intimate relationship with, may be requesting more of your time and energy. Another thing that's important is to look at the sign that the vertex in the 8th house is in, as this could impact the delineation. Now, let's say, for example, you got the vertex in Pisces in the 8th house. Now, well, this could be, perhaps you might be asked to deal with confounding and confusing tax and insurance related matters. It could also be dealing with a duplicitous or deceptive sexual partner, and it might need to be addressed, and others may try to persuade you to take care of that. Now, let's take another example. Let's say the vertex in the 8th house is in Scorpio. Well, this could be, you could be encouraged perhaps to get to the bottom of matters connected with an inheritance, even a death, with a lot of Scorpio-like investigative ability. It could be strongly, I mean, going beyond the superficial and detecting subterfuge associated with the sexual partner or someone you're in an intimate relationship with. This could also be about maybe getting to the bottom of things connected with something with shared resources, or about maybe perhaps some kind, it could be a checking or business account, for example, that is a joint one. Now, also, it's important to look at the aspects that are made to the vertex in the 8th house, as this could impact the delineation as well. Now, let's say that Saturn makes a sextile or trine to your 8th house vertex. Well, you may be able to carry out vertex in the 8th house, I guess you could say, matters that others are encouraging you to do with a lot of discipline, responsibility, and working and really through a lot of laborious effort. It may be done and through astrology, taxes, insurance, the occult, shared resources, and also it could be about, I mean, when you have this placement, I mean, you could be very strongly about, I mean, the vertex, just going back to the vertex in the 8th house in general, it could be about making a major change or transformation or rebirth. That might be what you might strongly be encouraged to do. Now, I want to say another example of an aspect made to your vertex in the 8th house. Now, let's say that somebody has the moon in their natal chart making an adverse aspect to the 8th house vertex. This could indicate perhaps the mother, a family member, a dominant woman in the person's life may not agree with what you are doing in matters connected with the vertex in the 8th house placement. They may not agree with what you may be encouraged to do as far as those 8th house vertex matters go. And also, I mean, keep in mind the moon is about emotions, so this could also what others may be pulling you to do in connection with that 8th house. Well, this could cause emotional tension and exasperation on your part. It might even be emotionally draining. So that's another example. Now, also, another thing that's significant that involves the vertex is synastry. Now, let's say, I mean, when you have another sun, moon, or ascendant make a conjunction to another's vertex, this could be a very powerful, and it could also be a very fated, destined, and ordained meeting, perhaps, in connection. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to result in that significant other, but at the same, it could even be platonic, but it could be powerful and strong one way or another. Now, it may not be like more instantaneous, like say somebody's south node making a conjunction to another sun, moon, or ascendant, but it could still, it's really a little bit more unanticipated and unexpected. You might not feel the connection instantly, but as the relationship progresses and evolves, at some point you'd be like, okay, yes, I do feel the connection now, but it's a little bit, I'd say a little bit more delayed in contrast to the south node conjunct one sun, moon, or ascendant in synastry. Now, I mean, let's say, for example, that, okay, we're talking about the vertex in the 8th house. Now, let's say it makes a conjunction to another's ascendant. Well, what this could indicate is that the vertex person may be drawn to the outer qualities and characteristics that the ascendant person is showing. I mean, let's say if it's somebody has a Cancer ascendant, you're talking, say it's vertex in Cancer, and it's a Cancer ascendant where you have that conjunction within synastry. Well, you might be drawn to the outer qualities, like the sympathetic and nurturing side that comes out in the sensitive side of that Cancer rising person. And at the same time, you might be in the 8th house. This does increase the chance, I think, of being in more of a sexual and intimate relationship, but it's not limited to that. But at the same time, being in the 8th is that this person may also have a very transforming effect on you and may figure prominently maybe in something connected with a rebirth or regeneration associated with you. So anyway, well, another thing about the vertex in the 8th house is that this could also mean that you may be drawn or pulled towards somebody that may be in an 8th house like profession, such as somebody that's a psychologist or psychiatrist, somebody that works in forensics, investigation, deep research, insurance, taxes, a person also that might be in a field that's associated with transformation, such as recycling or even rebuilding, recycling things in general, or rebuilding vehicles, making major changes to it. So also, it's also important to look at contra indicators in the natal chart and things that may reaffirm the vertex in the 8th house position. Now, let's say, for example, in your chart, you have no planets or nodes in the 8th house. You have no, as far as Scorpio astrological energy, I'm talking about, say, no planets in Scorpio. Say your ascendant and midheaven are neither one is in Scorpio, and neither of your nodes are in Scorpio. So if that's the case, it may be harder to follow up on these vertex 8th house like requests from others. But at the same time, let's say that you actually have a strong 8th house and you have an and/or Scorpio astrological energy in your chart. Well, this could suggest that you may have an easier time following up on these Vertex in the 8th house requests because you could be strongly connected with them anyway, and you already have the astrological energy that would help support that actually is associated with those things. So anyway, and be more amenable to those others' requests. So anyway, another thing is that let's say transits, of course, can be significant as well to the vertex in the 8th house. Now, let's say, for example, that transit Jupiter makes a conjunction to your vertex in the 8th house. Well, this could wind up being perhaps a fated, ordained, or destined meeting, perhaps with somebody that may be in a Jupiterian, I guess you could say, like field, such as publishing, traveling, somebody that's an explorer. It could be a person that may be, let's say, in philosophy, religion, publishing. It could also be a person that just may be very expansive, exuberant, and optimistic. Somebody that, and given that it's the 8th house, it could be somebody that might have really encourage you very positively and with a lot of it, and encourage you to make a major change or transformation in your life with a lot of that Jupiterian-like enthusiasm, expansiveness, and exuberance. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the vertex in the 8th house in a natal chart. Stay tuned next time, where I am going to be talking about, in my opinion, the most intuitive zodiac sign. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person astrologically speaking based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.